Have you ever wondered why the most powerful people in the world never tell you what they're really thinking? Why billionaires smile while they destroy competitors? Why politicians promise one thing and deliver another? Why your boss says we're all a team while planning your replacement? Why the friend who seems most supportive is often positioning themselves to take your place? This video will shatter your understanding of honesty, transparency, and truth. Because what you're about to learn contradicts everything you were taught as a child. Everything your parents told you. Everything society celebrates. Everything your teachers praised. Everything that gets rewarded with gold stars and participation trophies. But it's the difference between those who shape reality and those who are shaped by it. The difference between those who write the rules and those who follow them. The difference between power and powerlessness. Let me ask you directly. Do you announce your plans before you execute them? Do you tell people your real intentions? Do you share your strategies openly? Do you explain your reasoning in full? Do you broadcast your goals on social media for accountability? Do you tell your colleagues what you're really working toward? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you're making yourself predictable. And predictable people are controllable people. Predictable people are exploitable people. Predictable people lose. Law 3 states, always conceal your intentions. Keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they have no clue what you are up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Guide them far enough down the wrong path, envelop them in enough smoke, and by the time they realize your intentions, it will be too late. This sounds manipulative. Deceptive. Wrong. Unethical. Everything you've been taught to avoid. But by the end of this video, you'll understand why concealment isn't about lying. It's about survival. It's about strategy. It's about understanding a fundamental truth that most people refuse to accept. In a world where everyone is trying to predict you, transparency is suicide. In a world where information is power, every piece of information you reveal is a weapon handed to your enemies. In a competitive landscape, honesty without strategy is just another word for vulnerability. The question isn't whether you should be honest. The question is, with whom? When? And how much? And if you cannot answer those 3 questions strategically, you will be outmaneuvered by people who can. Let's begin. To understand why you must conceal your intentions, we need to understand how human beings process information and make decisions. This isn't philosophy. This isn't theory. This is neuroscience. This is evolution. This is the architecture of human cognition that has been shaped over millions of years. Your brain is a prediction machine. Not a thinking machine. Not a reasoning machine. Not a computing machine. A prediction machine. Every single moment of your existence, your brain is running simulations, calculating probabilities, forecasting what will happen next. This happens unconsciously, automatically, millions of times per day. You're not aware of it happening, but it never stops. When you walk downstairs, your brain predicts where each step will be. When someone starts a sentence, your brain predicts how it will end. When you see someone's face, your brain predicts their emotional state, their intentions, their next move. When you hear a song, your brain predicts the next note. When you watch someone pick up an object, your brain predicts what they'll do with it. This is not optional. This is not a skill. This is how human consciousness works at the most fundamental level. Now here's the critical insight, the one that changes everything. When your brain can predict something accurately, you feel safe. When your brain cannot predict something, you feel threatened. Uncertainty triggers the same neural pathways as physical danger. Your amygdala activates. Your stress hormones spike. Cortisol floods your system. Your heart rate increases. Your body prepares for fight or flight. This is why people hate surprises. This is why people fear the unknown. This is why people are desperate to feel like they understand what's happening around them. This is why people are desperate to understand your intentions. Not because they're nosy. Not because they're paranoid. Not because they don't trust you. But because their survival instinct demands it. Their brain needs to predict you to feel safe around you. And if they can predict you, they can control you. If they can forecast your moves, they can block you. If they can anticipate your strategy, they can counter it. Predictability equals vulnerability. This is the iron law of strategic interaction. Let me show you how this works in practice, in a situation you've probably experienced. Imagine you're in a negotiation. You're buying a company, negotiating a salary, making a deal, purchasing a house, discussing a partnership. The other person asks seemingly reasonable questions. What's your budget? What's your timeline? What are your alternatives? What other offers do you have? When do you need to make a decision? What's your walkaway point? These seem like reasonable questions. Fair questions. Questions that honest people should answer honestly. But what they're really asking is, how can I predict your next move? How can I corner you? How can I extract maximum value from you? Where are your pressure points? What are your constraints? How desperate are you? How much leverage do I actually have? They're not asking because they want to create a fair deal. They're asking because they want to optimize their position at your expense. This is how negotiation works. This is how power works. If you answer honestly, if you reveal your true position, if you tell them your budget is $50,000, that you need to close by next month, that you have no other offers, you've given them your entire strategy. You've shown them your cards while their cards remain hidden. They now know your constraints, your desperation, your limits. They can wait you out. They can push you further. They can exploit every weakness. You've made yourself predictable, and predictability is weakness. Predictability is an invitation to exploitation. But if you conceal your intentions, if you misdirect, if you keep them guessing, if you suggest you have other options without specifying what they are, if you imply flexibility in your timeline without committing to specifics, suddenly the power dynamic shifts. They cannot corner what they cannot predict. They cannot exploit what they cannot see. They must offer you better terms because they fear you have alternatives, leverage, options they don't know about. They must bid against invisible competitors. They must worry about losing you to opportunities that may not even exist. Concealment creates phantom leverage. Concealment creates negotiating power from nothing but uncertainty. This is why poker players wear sunglasses. Why military strategists use disinformation. Why Steve Jobs announced products only when they were ready to ship, never before. Why magicians never reveal their secrets. Why intelligence agencies classify information. Why companies don't disclose their strategic plans. Concealment creates power because it creates uncertainty, and uncertainty forces others to overestimate your position. Uncertainty makes you dangerous. Uncertainty makes you unpredictable. And unpredictable opponents are the most feared opponents. Now let's talk about misdirection, because concealment alone isn't enough. Passive concealment, just hiding information, makes people suspicious. If people sense you're hiding something, they become paranoid. They dig deeper. They watch you more carefully. They start seeing conspiracy where there might be none. Passive concealment triggers investigation. So concealment alone is incomplete. You must actively guide people down the wrong path. You must make them believe they understand your intentions when they absolutely do not. This is where the real mastery lies. This is where strategy becomes art. Think about a magician. A magician doesn't just hide the trick. A good magician doesn't rely on you not looking. A master magician directs your attention away from the trick. They point to their right hand while their left hand performs the magic. The hand you're watching isn't the hand performing the technique. The story they're telling isn't the real story. The explanation they provide isn't the real explanation. They create a false narrative so compelling, so engaging, so believable that you never think to question it. They make you complicit in your own deception. And by the time you realize what happened, it's too late. The trick is done. The illusion is complete. The same principle applies to power. You don't just conceal your real intention. You broadcast a false intention. You create a decoy. You manufacture a plausible alternative explanation. You make people think they've figured you out when they've actually been guided exactly where you want them. You let them feel clever for seeing through your surface level while missing everything underneath. This is the art of strategic deception. Not lying. Strategic truth deployment. Historical example, Operation Bodyguard during World War II. The Allied forces planned to invade Nazi-occupied Europe at Normandy Beach in June 1944. This was the largest amphibious invasion in history. Hundreds of thousands of troops. Thousands of ships. The future of the war depended on it. But if the Germans knew where and when the invasion would happen, they would concentrate their defenses there and make invasion nearly impossible. They would fortify the beaches. Position their best divisions. Pre-target their artillery. The invasion would fail. Thousands would die. The war might be lost. So what did the Allies do? They didn't just conceal the plan. That wouldn't work. Hiding the biggest military operation in history is impossible. Instead, they created an elaborate deception called Operation Fortitude, making the Germans believe the invasion would happen at Calais, hundreds of miles away from the actual target. They didn't just hide Normandy. They actively sold Calais as the obvious target. How? They built an entire fake army in southeast England across from Calais. An army that existed only as props. Inflatable tanks. Wooden aircraft. Fake radio transmissions. They created the first United States Army group under the command of General Patton, the general the Germans feared most. Except this army didn't exist. It was theater. It was stagecraft. It was misdirection at the scale of nations. They used double agents to feed false intelligence to German spies. They sent fake diplomatic communications they knew would be intercepted. They conducted visible preparations near Calais while hiding the real preparations for Normandy. They even continued the deception after the Normandy invasion began, making the Germans believe Normandy was a diversion and Calais was still the real target. The Germans fell for it completely. They kept massive forces at Calais waiting for an invasion that never came, while the real invasion succeeded at Normandy. Misdirection won World War II. Strategic concealment and active deception changed the course of human history. Modern example, Amazon. For years, people thought Amazon was just an online bookstore. Just books. A digital replacement for Barnes & Noble. Nothing threatening to anyone outside the book industry. Jeff Bezos let them think that. He encouraged that interpretation. He didn't announce his intention to dominate all retail, then cloud computing, then entertainment, then logistics, then artificial intelligence, then space travel, then healthcare. He concealed each expansion until it was too late for competitors to respond. He revealed each new move only after the infrastructure was built, the resources were committed, the advantages were insurmountable. By the time traditional retailers realized Amazon wasn't just selling books, Amazon had already built the logistics infrastructure to destroy them. The warehouses were built. The delivery networks were established. The customer relationships were cemented. By the time tech companies realized Amazon Web Services was a threat, AWS was already the dominant cloud platform. The data centers existed. The customers were locked in. The network effects were insurmountable. By the time anyone understood what Bezos was building, it was too late to stop it. Bezos understood something fundamental: if you announce your intentions, you give your enemies time to prepare. Time to build defenses. Time to lobby for regulations. Time to form alliances against you. Time to copy your innovations before you can establish dominance. But if you conceal your intentions, if you let people believe you're playing a small game while you're actually playing a massive game, you win before the fight begins. You establish irreversible positions before anyone realizes there's a war happening. This is how empires are built. Not through transparent announcements. Through strategic concealment and sequential revelation. Let's get personal. Let's talk about your workplace, your career, your daily life. Because this law isn't just for generals and billionaires. This law isn't just for world wars and corporate empires. This law applies to every single interaction where power is at stake. And power is at stake far more often than you realize. You're in a meeting. Your manager asks, "What are you working on? What projects interest you? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your career goals? What skills do you want to develop?" These seem like innocent questions. Career development questions. Questions that good managers ask good employees. Questions designed to help you grow. But what they're really asking is, are you a threat to me? Are you planning to leave? Are you competing for my position? Are you building skills that make you independent of me? Are you developing relationships that bypass me? How much ambition do I need to suppress in you? How threatened should I feel? These questions aren't about helping you. They're about assessing you. They're about understanding if you're a future problem they need to manage now. Most people answer honestly. They share their real goals, their true ambitions, their actual plans. They say things like, "I want your job in 3 years. I'm interested in moving to a different department. I'm developing skills in areas outside my current role. I'm building relationships with senior leadership. I'm exploring opportunities in emerging fields." They think honesty signals ambition. They think transparency builds trust. They think their manager will respect their drive. And then they wonder why they get passed over for promotions. Why their projects get killed. Why they suddenly have less autonomy. Why they're excluded from important meetings. Why their responsibilities get reallocated. Why they're given busy work instead of strategic work. It's because they made themselves predictable. They showed their hand. They revealed that they're a potential threat, and threats get neutralized. Not fired necessarily. Just managed. Controlled. Contained. Kept in a box where they're useful but not dangerous. But if you understand Law 3, you answer differently. You reveal a goal that's true but incomplete. You share an ambition that's real but not threatening. You discuss interests that align with your manager's interests. You make them think they understand you while concealing your true trajectory. You say things like, "I want to deepen my expertise in my current role. I want to support the team's strategic objectives. I want to develop skills that make me more valuable in my current function." Everything you say is true. Nothing you say reveals what actually matters. This isn't lying. This is strategic truth. You're telling them what they need to hear to feel safe, while protecting what actually matters. Here's another workplace example that everyone faces. You're planning to leave your company. You've been interviewing elsewhere. You're close to an offer. You might even have an offer in hand. Should you tell your current employer? Most people think honesty requires disclosure. They think, "I should give them a heads up. I should be transparent. We have a good relationship. I owe them honesty." But what happens when you disclose prematurely? Immediately, you become a flight risk. Your projects get reassigned to people who will be around to finish them. Your responsibilities shrink because they don't want to invest in someone who's leaving. Your manager starts treating you differently, seeing you as already gone. You lose leverage in any negotiation. You lose access to opportunities. You lose influence in decisions. And if the other job falls through, if the offer gets rescinded, if you change your mind, you're stuck in a damaged position. Your loyalty is now questioned. Your commitment is doubted. Your trajectory is stalled. Strategic concealment protects you. You only reveal your departure when you're ready to leave, not before. You maintain your leverage until the very end. You protect your position until you don't need it anymore. You resign only when you have a signed offer, a start date, and no possibility of reversal. This isn't unethical. This is basic strategic thinking. Your employer would do the same. Actually, your employer does do the same. They conceal layoffs until the day they happen. They conceal reorganizations until they're ready to announce. They conceal budget cuts until decisions are final. They understand strategic concealment even if they preach transparency to you. Now let's talk about the dangerous side of transparency, because modern culture worships transparency. Be authentic. Be yourself. Share your truth. Show vulnerability. Document your journey. This advice dominates self-help books, leadership seminars, personal branding consultants, social media gurus. It sounds noble, enlightened, evolved. But it's strategically catastrophic. Transparency makes you exploitable. Let me show you exactly why. Social media trains people to broadcast every thought, every plan, every intention, every goal, every struggle, every victory. Entrepreneurs announce their business ideas before building them, giving competitors free market research. People share their goals publicly for accountability, giving adversaries a roadmap of where to block them. They document every step of their journey, giving rivals real-time intelligence. They post about their struggles, revealing weaknesses that can be exploited. They celebrate their victories, triggering envy and opposition. And they wonder why others steal their ideas, why competitors emerge instantly, why their plans constantly get disrupted, why people seem to work against them. Here's what they don't understand: every piece of information you reveal is a weapon someone else can use against you. Your goals tell them where to block you. Your fears tell them where to pressure you. Your plans tell them where to intercept you. Your timeline tells them when to strike. Your resources tell them how much resistance you can mount. Your network tells them who to influence. Your weaknesses tell them where to attack. Transparency feels virtuous, but it's tactically suicidal. Transparency is strategic disarmament in a world that remains armed. Look at successful people who actually build empires. Not people who talk about building empires. People who do it. Elon Musk announces Starlink after satellites are already launching, not before. He didn't spend 5 years tweeting about his plan to create satellite internet while competitors prepared. He built it in secret and revealed it when infrastructure existed. Apple develops products in complete secrecy, announces them only when they're ready to ship. Not prototypes. Not concepts. Finished products ready for market. Peter Thiel invested in Facebook when it was still a secret, concealing his move until the deal was done. He didn't announce he was looking at social networks and telegraph his strategy to every other investor. These people understand that loose lips don't just sink ships. Loose lips prevent ships from ever leaving the harbor. Loose lips get your ideas stolen before you can execute them. Loose lips create competition where none existed. Loose lips turn your ambitions into other people's opportunities. They reveal only what advances their position and conceal everything else. This is how power accumulates. Through strategic revelation, not through radical transparency. But here's the sophisticated question, the one that separates masters from amateurs: how do you conceal intentions without appearing suspicious? Because if people sense you're hiding something, they become paranoid. They dig deeper. They watch you more carefully. They start asking more questions. They begin investigating. Obvious concealment triggers investigation. Heavy-handed secrecy backfires. If you walk into a room and announce, "I can't tell you what I'm working on," everyone immediately wants to know what you're working on. The concealment itself becomes the focus. This is counterproductive. This is amateur hour. This is the art within the art. Concealment must appear natural. Misdirection must seem genuine. Secrecy must be invisible. You must hide in plain sight. You must be so apparently open that no one thinks to question what you're not revealing. This is sophisticated power. This is mastery. The technique is called controlled transparency. You share information freely, but you control which information. You answer questions honestly, but you control which questions get asked. You appear open while remaining strategically opaque. You reveal the surface while protecting the depths. You give people enough information to satisfy their curiosity while withholding everything that matters. Let me give you a detailed framework for how this works. When someone asks about your intentions, you respond with truth at a different level. If they ask what you're working on, you tell them about your current project, not your ultimate goal. You discuss the immediate task, not the long-term strategy. You explain what you're doing this week, not what you're building over 5 years. If they ask where you see yourself in 5 years, you tell them about skills you want to develop, not positions you want to take. You discuss capabilities, not titles. You talk about growth, not conquest. If they ask about your strategy, you tell them about your philosophy, not your tactics. You discuss principles, not plans. You share frameworks, not specifics. Everything you say is true. Nothing you say reveals what actually matters. The truth you share is real but incomplete. Accurate but not comprehensive. Honest but not strategic. This is controlled transparency. This is strategic honesty. This is how you conceal intentions without appearing deceptive. You're not lying. You're just answering a different question than the one they think they're asking. Here's a concrete example. Someone asks, "What are you working on?" Most people answer with their entire strategic roadmap. They explain their current project, their next 3 projects, their long-term vision, their ultimate goal, their theory of success. They dump their entire mental model. This is strategic suicide. A better answer: I'm focused on improving our customer onboarding process. True. Specific. Concrete. But it reveals nothing about whether this is a stepping stone to a promotion, a foundation for starting your own company, a skill you're developing to change industries, or just a task you were assigned. They know what you're doing. They have no idea why it matters to you. They cannot predict your next move because the move exists at a level you haven't revealed. Another example. Someone asks, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" Most people answer with their destination. I want to be a director. I want to run my own company. I want to be in a different industry. They reveal the target, which allows others to position themselves between you and that target. A better answer: I want to develop deeper expertise in strategic decision-making and learn how successful organizations scale. True. Ambitious. Growth-oriented. But it doesn't reveal whether you want to be a director at this company, a founder of your own company, a consultant to multiple companies, or something else entirely. You've shown ambition without revealing direction. You've demonstrated drive without exposing vulnerability. They feel like they understand you, but they understand nothing that matters strategically. This is the art of controlled transparency. You appear to answer while preserving strategic ambiguity. You seem open while remaining protected. You look honest while staying unpredictable. This is how sophisticated people navigate environments where information is power and revelation is risk. Now let's address the moral question directly, because some of you are thinking, this is manipulation. This is dishonest. This is deceptive. This makes you a bad person. This is wrong. I was taught better than this. Let me challenge that assumption with a different perspective, a more mature framework for thinking about honesty and strategy. Is it manipulation to keep your poker hand hidden? Is it dishonest for a lawyer not to reveal their entire case before trial? Is it immoral for a chess player not to announce their strategy? Is it unethical for a company not to disclose its strategic plans to competitors? Is it wrong for a military not to publish its battle plans? In competitive contexts, concealment isn't deception. It's the basic requirement of the game. It's how the game works. It's the structure within which the game is played. And whether you accept it or not, you're playing competitive games every day. Negotiating salaries. Competing for opportunities. Protecting your interests. Building your career. Navigating office politics. Pursuing relationships. Managing conflicts. Every day you're in situations where your interests and someone else's interests don't perfectly align. Where you want something and someone else wants something different. Where cooperation exists alongside competition. These are competitive contexts, and competitive contexts require strategic behavior. The moral error isn't in concealing intentions. The moral error is in pretending the game doesn't exist while others play it expertly around you. That's not virtue. That's naivety. And naivety doesn't make you good. It makes you a victim who calls their victimhood morality. It makes you someone who loses and then claims moral superiority for losing. That's not ethics. That's rationalization. Here's a better moral framework: conceal your intentions in competitive contexts. Be transparent in cooperative contexts. Know the difference. With your spouse, your true friends, your family, your children, transparency builds trust. Honesty creates intimacy. Vulnerability enables connection. These are contexts where interests align. Where you win together or lose together. Where deception destroys value for everyone. In these contexts, transparency is moral and strategic. But with your competition, your adversaries, those whose interests conflict with yours, those who benefit from your mistakes, transparency builds vulnerability. Openness creates exploitation opportunities. Honesty becomes a weapon they use against you. In these contexts, strategic concealment is moral and necessary. It protects you. It prevents exploitation. It maintains balance of power. Wisdom is knowing which context you're in. Stupidity is treating all contexts the same. Maturity is recognizing that different relationships require different levels of transparency. And sophistication is executing this distinction without becoming cynical, without losing your humanity, without turning into someone you don't want to be. Let me give you 3 tactical principles for implementing Law 3 in your life right now, today, starting immediately. Because understanding the theory isn't enough. Understanding the philosophy isn't sufficient. You need practical application. You need concrete techniques. You need things you can do tomorrow that will change your outcomes. Principle 1: never explain your full reasoning. When you make a decision, give one reason, not 5. When you choose a direction, share the immediate justification, not the long-term strategy. When someone asks why, give them a reason, not the reason. People can only prepare defenses against reasoning they understand. If you give them one reason, they can only challenge that one reason. They can argue against it, but they're arguing against one dimension of your thinking. If you give them 5 reasons, you've shown them your entire decision matrix. You've revealed your complete mental model. And they can dismantle it systematically. They can address each reason. They can find weaknesses in your logic. They can talk you out of your own decision. Less is more when it comes to explanation. Brevity creates mystery. Incomplete explanation forces others to fill in gaps with their own assumptions, and their assumptions are almost always less sophisticated than your reality. Let them assume. Let them guess. Let them underestimate the depth of your thinking. Because the moment they understand your full reasoning, they can predict all your future reasoning. They've reverse-engineered your algorithm. You've become predictable. Principle 2: create decoy intentions. Before revealing what you actually want, express interest in something adjacent. Before negotiating for a raise, mention you're exploring new skills that make you valuable in your current role, not that you're building skills to leave. Before launching a product, talk about a different market segment than the one you're actually targeting. Before making your real move, make people believe they've already figured out your move. The decoy absorbs their attention, their analysis, their countermeasures while you execute the real plan. This is how negotiations work at high levels. You never reveal your real target. If you want $60,000 in salary, you don't ask for $60,000. You ask for $75,000 while suggesting you're considering other opportunities. The $75,000 is the decoy. The other opportunities are the decoy. They negotiate you down to $60,000, believing they've won a concession, while you get exactly what you wanted. They think they've outmaneuvered you when you've outmaneuvered them by letting them feel clever. Principle 3: use time as concealment. Reveal intentions only at the last possible moment. Don't announce what you're doing. Announce what you've done. Don't share what you're planning. Share what you've already executed. Don't preview. Don't forecast. Don't telegraph. Just act, and reveal only when action is complete and irreversible. Timing is a form of concealment because by the time others know, their window to respond has closed. Their opportunity to interfere has passed. Their ability to block you has expired. This is why surprise product launches work. Apple doesn't spend 2 years telling you about the next iPhone. They announce it and ship it immediately. This is why sudden resignations are powerful. You don't give 6 months notice. You give 2 weeks. This is why late-stage reveals maintain leverage. You negotiate the entire deal before revealing the deal even exists. Time conceals when space cannot. Sequential revelation prevents coordinated opposition. Let me show you how these 3 principles work together in a real scenario. Imagine you want to start a company while still employed. Your full intention is to build a business, quit your job, become a founder. That's your real goal. That's what actually matters. But revealing that intention too early destroys your position. So you apply principle 1, you don't explain your full reasoning. When your manager asks what you're working on outside work, you don't say, "I'm building a company to eventually leave." You say, "I'm exploring some side projects to develop new skills." True. But incomplete. You've given one reason, not the full strategic logic. You apply principle 2, you create decoy intentions. You mention you're interested in improving your technical skills, learning new tools, staying current with industry trends. These are decoy explanations that sound like you're investing in your current role, not planning to leave it. Your manager thinks, "Great, this person is committed to growth here." When actually you're building capabilities to leave. You apply principle 3, you use time as concealment. You build your business quietly. You don't announce when you start. You don't update people on progress. You don't share milestones. You work in the shadows. And you reveal only when you're ready to resign, when you have revenue, when you have customers, when the business is real and viable. At that point, revealing doesn't hurt you because you're already gone. Time has concealed your intentions until they became irrelevant to conceal. This is how Law 3 works in practice. Not through single clever tricks, but through systematic application of principles that compound over time. Not through one-time deceptions, but through sustained strategic behavior that makes you unpredictable and therefore powerful. Let me end with the ultimate insight about Law 3, the thing that separates masters from amateurs, the distinction that determines whether you use this law wisely or destructively. Concealment isn't about hiding forever. It's not about permanent secrecy. It's not about never revealing anything. It's about controlling when and how information gets revealed. The master reveals their intentions strategically, at the moment of maximum impact, when revelation itself becomes a weapon rather than a vulnerability. Think about a predator stalking prey. The predator doesn't hide forever. The predator doesn't stay concealed permanently. The predator conceals until the precise moment when distance is closed, escape is impossible, and revelation equals victory. The pounce isn't the failure of concealment. The pounce is the strategic deployment of revelation. The predator reveals itself at the exact moment when revelation maximizes impact and minimizes risk. Before that moment, revelation gives prey time to escape. After that moment, revelation is unnecessary because victory is already achieved. The timing of revelation is what matters. The same applies to power. You conceal your intentions while building position, gathering resources, creating irreversible momentum, establishing advantages, neutralizing threats. You work in the shadows while you're vulnerable. You hide while you're building. You misdirect while you're accumulating. Then, when your position is unassailable, when your victory is inevitable, when your advantages are insurmountable, you reveal. Not before. Not to be transparent. Not to be honest. But because revelation at that moment maximizes impact and minimizes resistance. The reveal itself becomes part of the strategy. The announcement itself becomes a demonstration of power. Steve Jobs understood this. He didn't reveal products during development. He revealed them when they were finished, when they were ready to ship, when the technology was proven, when the supply chain was established, when the marketing was prepared. At that point, revelation wasn't a vulnerability. It was a weapon. It was a demonstration of capability. It was Apple saying, "Look what we built while you weren't looking. Try to catch up." The reveal itself became competitive advantage because by the time competitors saw what Apple had done, they were already 2 years behind. Bezos understood this. He didn't announce his intention to dominate retail, cloud computing, entertainment, and logistics. He revealed each move after infrastructure was built, after advantages were established, after competition was already defeated. The reveal was a victory lap, not a warning shot. By the time people understood what he was building, it was already built. This is mastery. This is sophisticated power. Concealment followed by strategic revelation at the moment of maximum impact. The timing of the reveal is as important as the concealment itself. So here's your question, the question you need to answer for yourself: what are you revealing too early? What intentions are you broadcasting that give others time to prepare against you? What strategic information are you sharing that makes you predictable and therefore weak? What plans are you explaining that allow others to block you before you execute? What ambitions are you announcing that trigger opposition before you're ready to overcome it? Law 3 demands you audit your transparency. Demands you recognize the difference between virtue and vulnerability. Demands you understand that in contexts where interests conflict, concealment isn't deception. It's wisdom. It's strategy. It's survival. It's how you protect yourself in a world where information asymmetry determines outcomes. The most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the best plan. It's the one whose plan you never see coming. It's the one who reveals nothing until it's too late. It's the one who makes you think you understand them while you understand nothing. It's the one who conceals until revelation becomes victory. The question is, will you be that opponent? Or will you keep explaining yourself to people preparing to defeat you? Conceal your intentions. Keep people off balance. Keep them in the dark. Let them guess. Let them wonder. Let them overestimate or underestimate you, but never let them accurately predict you. Because the moment they can predict you, the moment they understand your full intention, the moment they see your complete strategy, you've given them the power to stop you. And power surrendered voluntarily is power you'll never get back. Think about it.